So I was lucky enough to get along to Anfield in midweek to watch Liverpool thump Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League. And while Mohamed Salah and Luis Diaz were the clear goal scorers on the night, I was particularly impressed with the performances of Curtis Jones in the middle of the park. Jones has been one of the surprise packages for Liverpool this season because Arne Slot has taken a notable interest in the player and started him in a number of Premier League games, as well as in the Champions League and the cup competitions in England too. So I wanted to use this video today to take a look at why Arne Slot has taken such an interest in a player that was a bit of a peripheral figure in Jurgen Klopp's team last season, and why he does seem to be dramatically improving under the new Liverpool manager this season. I actually asked Arne Slot after the game in the press conference about Curtis Jones and his development at Liverpool this season, and Slot gave a really interesting answer. So Slot actually admitted after the game that when he first arrived at Liverpool, he wasn't quite sure what type of midfielder Jones was. Was a number 6, a number 8, or a number 10. He said he played him as a number 6 in a friendly behind closed doors in pre-season, which didn't quite work out, and then admitted that, as we've seen in recent weeks, he's really thrived in that number 10 position, and when we look at his stats, that certainly seems to bear out. As we can see in this table, which shows the goal-creating actions per 90 minutes of Liverpool's key attacking players from last season to this season, we can see which ones have improved this time under Arne Slot compared to last year, and which ones have actually gone backwards. 3 players in particular have taken a bit of a dip this season in Jota, McAllister and Szoboszlai, whereas a number of players have actually improved. Darwin Núñez has done better, Gakpo's done better, Salah's done better. And interestingly enough, only Luis Diaz has actually improved more than Curtis Jones in this metric, which makes perfect sense when we consider the fact that Jones already has 4 assists to his name in all competitions and is 5th in Liverpool's squad for key passes per 90 minutes. As we all know, a number 10 cannot only be a playmaker, they also have to have a clear goal threat, and again, this is somewhere where Jones has notably improved under Arne Slot this season. When we take a look at this graph, which shows the shots on target per 90 minutes and non-penalty XG per 90 minutes of Liverpool's midfielders and forwards that have all played a decent amount of football this season, the thing that really stands out to me here is that not only is Jones in the middle of the graph, which is quite helpful, but there's also a clear distinction between him and Liverpool's other central midfielders. Obviously, Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister have probably never been as attack-minded as Curtis Jones has always been as a player, but I think it's important to note here that those are 2 players that were easily interchangeable with Curtis Jones last season under Jurgen Klopp. But as we can see in this graphic, Jones is beginning to pull away from those other central midfielders and is beginning to look more like a different type of player, i.e. a number 10. And the fact that Jones is 5th for shots on target and 6th for non-penalty XG per 90 in Liverpool's squad this season maybe doesn't say that he's going to become all of a sudden the most important talisman, but it certainly suggests that he's performing just as well as a number of Liverpool's attacking players, due in part to his impressive goal threat under Arne Slot this season. So we know that Curtis Jones is improving with his goal creation under Arne Slot this season, and we know that he's performing admirably well in comparison to Liverpool's other forward players in terms of being a genuine goal threat in that number 10 position. But I also wanted to take a look at how his actual game is changing from one season to the next, and I thought the best way to do that would be to take a look at the average distance of his shots per season. Luckily, the folk at FBref catalogue exactly this, and when we put it on a graph like this one, we can see the really dramatic change in Jones's style of play. As we can see, from 1920 to 2021, the distance of his shots on target was more or less around the same. Very dramatic increase in the 21-22 season, and then it kind of goes back to the standard average in the next 2 campaigns. But as we can see from his stats this season, there's a huge drop-off in terms of the distance per shot compared to not only last season, the season before, but it's almost half what he was averaging in the 21-22 season. This isn't really supposed to suggest that Curtis Jones has suddenly turned into a second striker or a penalty box player by any means. He's probably a player who's definitely taking shots closer to goal. That's clear for anyone who watches Liverpool this season. But I think it's also probably more notable that he's been more selective with the shots that he takes. That might sound like a player who's maybe less of a goal threat, but if you think about it, a number 10 or a second striker or an inside forward, someone like that, has to be very particular with the shots that they take because they have to find the right goal-scoring opportunities and knowing when to execute that shot. Whereas a central midfielder can quite happily take pot shots from outside the box whenever they get half a chance. I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. We're seeing a player who's gone from being a central midfielder who's quite happy taking pot shots 23 yards out at times because he's got the space and the time to do so, to a player who's obviously playing in much tighter areas of the pitch, who's hitting fewer shots, but obviously hitting ones that are far closer to goal. So is Curtis Jones the next Steven Gerrard? Well, no, I wouldn't go that far. But what's really impressive, I think, is that Arne Slot has managed to identify the parts of his game that he clearly thrives, and he's found a role and a position in this team that has allowed Jones to really showcase that in the very highest levels against Premier League and Champions League opposition. Curtis Jones has always had bags of potential at Liverpool, and he certainly showed that at times under Jurgen Klopp. But as we're seeing this season, Arne Slot has managed to really tap into that and allowed the player to showcase what he's capable of, which is exactly why he's performing well for Liverpool, got a call-up for the England team, and seems to be going from strength to strength this season for the Anfield club.